Happy holidays, everybody out there in RPG Nation and people who are just tuning in. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG podcast. We got a fun show for you guys tonight. We obviously, if you got the intro, you caught a little bit of that holiday fever already with the jingles and the bells, but we're going to take you through a little mid-season mock draft, mock startup here on the RPG podcast, and joined, now saying it officially, as always, is Mr. Mike Kashuba right here down below me. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Corey. I'm excited to get into this mock draft, and I'm excited for the holidays. So it's going to be a great episode.
Heck yeah, man. You have a good Thanksgiving?
It happened, visited Alex, went home to Pennsylvania. So,
it happened. Sounds strong. Sounds good. Okay, well, We'll keep moving on. Don't need to talk about that anymore. Also, as always, is Mr. Evan Lowe. Hi, Evan.
What's up, Corey?
How you doing, buddy?
Fighting a little head cold here, so hopefully I get a little forgiveness for my sound tonight.
I know you are, and I appreciate you soldiering on through it and joining us for this draft. Luckily, it's just a draft. You don't have to stop and explain every single one of your picks, except you kind of do. So we'll see how that goes. And joining us is also a very special guest, someone that we don't get to have often around here on the RPG podcast. I'm Mr. Eric Watts. Hi, Eric.
Aloha. And I think I've been on the last 3 weeks.
That doesn't seem right to me, but maybe.
We'll check the tapes.
We'll check the tapes on that. We'll check the tapes. How you doing after that stellar Bears win, baby? Let's go.
If there was ever a game that neither team should win, it was last night.
The Chicago Bears bring it home, scoring 0 touchdowns.
Only team all season to win a game while scoring 0 touchdowns. Take that for what you will.
Well, I'm sure that will weigh heavily into our decision-making process here as we start this Dynasty mock draft. But, before we really get into the swing of things, I did want to from that game, I don't want to talk about it a ton because it was bad. I think we all know it was bad. But certain takeaways I took from that, Justin Fields, is anyone under any impression that Justin Fields will be a Bear next season? Because it feels like writing is on the wall now. Bears will have Caleb Williams, and Justin Fields will either be traded or be a really nice backup. Anyone think differently?
I don't think differently, but think about how great it would be if they would once again trade back from the 101 and get an absolute steal for it. Yeah. Just think about that, how you could actually provide, him with some weapons, and maybe he could actually do something and throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field.
Recipe for success, right? It worked pretty well the first time. So why not go back to the well? It would be interesting to see them trade back a little bit and get a Marvin Harrison. That would be kind of interesting to see. It would kind of suck for Marvin Harrison though to be on the Bears. But yeah, the only other takeaway I got from the game was, Josh Dobbs, not the prince that was promised that I think maybe some people were hoping he would be. It was a dreadful outing. Some of those interceptions, there were 4 of them, which yikes, but some of them weren't entirely his fault. But when you have Kevin O'Connell coming out right after the game and saying that the QB position will be analyzed and they'll figure things out after the bye, it's not looking great if you were hoping for some sort of miracle Josh Dobbs waiver wire to hero storyline. Not looking good for him having a starting job next year. But Eric?
Real quick is the closest thing we have to a Bears insider here, which would probably be me. Justin Fields is not going to be the Bears starting quarterback next year, but that does not mean it's a slam dunk that it's Caleb Williams at the 1.01. There's a lot of movement from what I'm hearing on the inside of Chicago for Drake May.
Okay, trading down to get Drake May, I would imagine, right? Not taking.
Well, they
Drake
would try to get to that
101.
102 if they could, but if not, I heard they might even be sold at him at 101.
Ooh, that's kind of wild to hear, but yeah, possibly. Oh, wait, aren't you a Jags fan?
I am a Jags fan.
So what? I don't understand. So you're messing with us. You're just messing with us because you wouldn't know any of this because you're a Jags fan.
I mean, it's hard to kill the old roots.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, other than that, guys, there wasn't a ton of news. I mean, we did have a firing. Frank Reich, no longer the Panthers head coach. You know, they were not performing very well. And Bryce Young, I mean, I don't want to knock him too badly. He doesn't have a ton of help right now, but you definitely, I think, expected more from the 101. And they make the coaching change again in Carolina. That ownership, very impatient, it seems. So I guess, do we have any thoughts towards Carolina Panthers' next head coach? Anyone have any guesses?
I mean, Greg Olson's already come out and said that he wants the job. So hopefully he at least gets an interview because Greg Olson is royalty there.
He's also the only person that has come out and said they want the job, which might be the minimum qualifications.
Right. Yeah, it is hard to want that job. I mean, what is it? 3 head coaches in the last 2 years?
You have no draft capital in next year. You have a quarterback that you may or may not believe in. You have an owner that's over involved in the draft process, and you have a fan base that is already rabidly against you. What's not to love? Let's go coach Carolina, baby.
Yeah, that is brutal. Seems like a great landing spot for Ron Rivera.
Oof.
All right, that one didn't land. But I think that we should start getting into things, guys, because we got a mock draft here, and I don't know how many rounds y'all want to go, but I imagine we want to go decently deep here. So why don't we get this party started?
Cool.
I guess I can go through a little bit here, the order, and kind of explain the settings before we really launch into it. But we're doing Superflex, PPR, Titan Premium. It's a dynasty startup, so gearing up for the 2024 season. And we have a full house, which is awesome. Really appreciate everyone that is stopping by and drafting alongside us, because I tried to do a couple of mock drafts in preparation for today, and drafting against computers right now is not real life because it's still using like the 2023 ADPs and stuff. So there's a lot of names that I was like, well, that isn't how it would go. So I'm excited to draft against some real people. And let me just go through the order real quick. We got some mainstays here, and we got some new names that I haven't seen. We got at the 1-1, Buster Jacoby. He is on That Dynasty podcast. Really appreciate him stopping by. We got FF Canuck 99. I believe he is on X. I'm not sure what content he produces, but appreciate him stopping by at the 1-2 there. We got Evan at the 1-3. Then we got Fantasy King coming in at 1-4. We got me at the 1-5. Wally Clark's at the 1-6. Thanks, Wally, for checking us out. Preston, I should say. And Big Bear Saurus, he's an RPG member at 1-7. Spunky 3300 at 1-8. Dirty Sanchez at 1-9. I appreciate you stopping by, man, and making me say that name probably a lot tonight. Dirty Sanchez at the 1-9. We got Aaron St. Dennis in the house, the mad scientist himself at 1-10. And then rounding out the order at 11 and 12 is Mike and Eric. And we've already got a pick locked in here. The 101, Buster Jacoby taking Patrick Mahomes. What do you guys think? Biggest mistake in the draft so far?
It's definitely the worst pick so far. We'll see how the rest of the night goes. But I mean, okay.
I would argue it is the best pick of the draft so far.
Ooh, I guess we'll just have to agree there.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric, I'm curious your thoughts here. So at the 101, there's Mahomes, Allen, Hurts. Are there any other names that you're thinking about there, or is it just those three? Eric.
I would say maybe Lawrence, but probably not.
Okay, so we're getting rolling and we're moving. I think it's a pretty clear top three for me. All three of them are in the same tier for me in Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. I have them pretty clearly ranked as my QB 1, 2, and 3. And then I have a tier break before I get to the next quarterbacks. So I think that is a great start, and what every start will be come next year.
Yep. Really surprised at the 1-4 though, and was actually kind of hoping he would fall to me. CJ Stroud, Fantasy King, locks him in. I love it. I think it's bold and brash, but I love it. Yeah. Obviously blowing it up as a rookie. I go ahead at the 1-5 and take Justin Herbert. It was tough between him and I think Lamar were kind of the two I was thinking. I went with the age with Herbert and the fact that, he can run the football, not as well as Lamar, but I think he'll be a little more consistent. Hopefully a little less prone to injury. So I'll go ahead and lock him in there. We got Preston up here at the 1-6. We're already getting some auto picks, so I don't know if Preston's going to be locking his in here, but what do you guys think about this top 5? How surprised are you at the 1-4 CJ Stroud?
I mean, people have recency bias. It's something that you can't get away from in Dynasty, and if he's a 21, 22-year-old that's putting up the numbers that he is, record breakers continue to do well. So,
ooh, that's a rough auto pick for Preston at the 1-6, locking in Justin Jefferson. I still think there's some QBs here that you probably want to take before hitting the skill guys. That being said, you get Justin Jefferson. It's not the worst day ever. He's still very, very young. Coming off this injury, kind of sucks. Kirk Cousins kind of question marks, but he's still extremely talented. Obviously a top 3 NFL wide receiver. So not a bad selection, all things considered, but probably some people that are feeling rather grateful to have some QBs still on the board here. We'll see what Big Bear Source locks in here if he does lock something in. I will say if there are people tuning in, which doesn't look like there are, but maybe in the chat, Mike, you want to tell people to set some cues up if possible.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Just because I know, having done some computer auto drafts already with Sleeper, it was very clear to me that it was using last year's ADPs, and it was not conducive to what would actually be happening. Big Bear Source auto picks.
I do see FF Canuck 99 jumping on here. I do see the little green dot. I saw Wally Clark's on here. So at the very least, they're checking. Maybe just.
I think he just saw that he took Justin Jefferson. We'll see if he sticks around after that, because that's a rough start. But we did get Big Bearosaurus auto picking Lamar Jackson. I think that makes sense to me. I do think that the order so far isn't super surprising in terms of the orders of QBs being drafted here. The CJ Stroud, slightly surprising, but I get it. I feel pretty grateful to have Justin Herbert there and Lamar Jackson going as the next guy before Joe Burrow. I think kind of makes sense given, Joe Burrow should still be good coming into next year, but the litany of injuries that he's dealt with this season, it's hard to have confidence going forward. Not to mention maybe he loses T. Higgins, maybe Joe Mixon. So I think those are questions that people probably have there. After Joe Burrow comes his teammate, Jamar Chase, to Dirty Sanchez. So taking a wide receiver there with Trevor Lawrence still on the board. I probably lean Lawrence, and I think Aaron might be counting his blessings that he managed to get some Lawrence there at the 110. He picks that next after Chase. Leaves us Mike on the clock. Mike, what are you thinking?
You guys want to know who the biggest value in Dynasty drafts was last year?
You tell me.
It was Kyler Murray. He's a top 10 quarterback in PPR every time he touches the field. I don't care if he plays for the Cardinals. I don't care if he plays for the Browns. I don't care if he plays for the Vikings. I don't care who he plays for. If he's on the field, he's a top 10 quarterback for fantasy.
Well, and let's also not forget that Kyler is going to get 2 first-round picks this year.
Yeah,
if he stays there.
If he ends up staying there, which all signs are pointing to them being good enough to keep him out of that top 2 slot. And from every report that's been coming out, it sounds like nobody's really wanting to touch the Kyler contract as well. So that's also something, obviously, you can want to trade a quarterback, but you may not have a trade partner.
We got Eric back-to-back.
Okay, so talk about a 180 from last year, and I'm surprised he fell to me, but I'm going to go AR right there, which is
Eric picking Anthony Richardson. Let's talk about it. Okay,
At
you turned
112.
around.
At 112, but with the way all these quarterbacks are flying off the board, I want a quarterback here, at least one. And he's definitely a solid first round, beginning of second round value there. Just hope he stays healthy.
I cannot believe you didn't take Hendon Hooker.
I cannot believe it either, to be
Crazy.
honest. But
What a
for
world.
my next pick, how about the guy who's going to be a fantasy stud that Hendon Hooker may be throwing to for a long time? Give me the Sun God. I'm going to grab
Ooh.
the Sun God at the
You're
2.1 there.
You're a real son of a biscuit, aren't you?
You're a mean one, Mr.
I was
Grinch.
between him and CeeDee Lamb, but I love the offense that Amon-Ra is in right now. At 24 years old, I only think he's going to get a little bit better, and I like the volume he gets, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Speaking of CeeDee Lamb, do you guys want to CeeDee's picks? I'm going to pick Tua Tagovailoa. He's a top 12 quarterback in fantasy right now, tied to an amazing coach. I just don't see that there's any there's no argument. Now I have 2 top 10 quarterbacks whenever I need them.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Solidifying your young quarterbacks like that. I mean, I think that's a great pick, Mike. We got Aaron St. Dennis back on the board. Let's see what the mad scientist pulls out of the lab here at the 2-3. He takes CeeDee Lamb. I like that pick. I do think that the order of wide receivers is the order for me. So I like that. I actually like Amon-Ra is he's moving into the consideration for me for that 1 or 2 spot. If I'm being honest, I've liked him for a long time. I think my bold take was that he would be clear-cut dynasty wide receiver 3 by season's end. Looks like that is coming true before our eyes. We got Dirty Sanchez locking in Justin Fields. That is a very bold pick, I would say, given what we've already discussed with Justin Fields. Let's see if he has a starting job next year. I think that is still a question mark. So, if you're confident in him remaining on the Bears and maybe getting like a Marvin Harrison Jr., I could maybe see the argument, but I think the risk is just very, very high. What do you guys think?
So on that Justin Fields pick, that actually feels kind of about right for me, because either he will be the starting quarterback of the Bears next year, or I do believe he will get traded somewhere and he will probably get a shot to start at least 1 or 2 more seasons.
Give me your team that he goes to that you're excited about.
Atlanta.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Atlanta. oh, Mike. Okay. All right. What about the Seattle Seahawks? Okay. So we got another pick in here. Bijan Robinson, Spunky, 3,300 takes Bijan first running back off the board. That makes sense. We don't have any arguments against that, right? Bijan clear dynasty RB1. Maybe taking him a little early.
Yeah, I mean, taking him over AJ Brown kind of hurts, but there's no super big arguments here. There's nobody in the 24 class that's gonna knock him off top dog.
True. AJ Brown does get selected right after that by Big Bear Saurus. Lamar Jackson, AJ Brown. I like those 2 picks side by side. That's a pretty strong 1-2 punch. We got Preston back on the board. Preston's kind of been in and out. Not sure he's going to make his selection here. But I want to just say quickly, I do think Robinson a little early. But I also want to kind of mention, is there maybe any Gibbs 1-1 discussion to be had? I mean, no. David Montgomery is going to be 26, 27. Gibbs takes over in a year or 2. He's already getting a ton of work, PPR, all that good stuff. I mean, saying that though, Breece Hall does become the second RB selected by Preston. So Preston foregoing the QBs, I guess at this point, maybe going for a late QB strategy. That leaves me on the board here. And look, I mean, I'm looking at these names. There's definitely some good young guys here, but my top 5 wide receivers just went. And I feel a little zigging on the zag. I think I am going to lock in just because, the wide receivers I think are a big tier break for me. If I'm looking to win next year, I mean, he's still obviously blowing things up.
5 seconds.
Christian McCaffrey, give him to me.
You were just talking about how Jahmyr Gibbs might be the running back 101, and now you took Christian McCaffrey?
I know. I kind of forgot about Christian McCaffrey. It's hard for a Seahawks fan. You want to put him out of your mind as much as possible, given we have to play him twice a year. But, between him and Gibbs, I think while he's active, he's still going to be the higher producer. While David Montgomery is still in the Lions, he's going to be the higher producer. I think Gibbs is a better play if you're building a team that is on the younger side. If you're maybe looking for like a year 2 kind of play. I think those were my 2 picks in mind, though. I was thinking between McCaffrey and Gibbs.
I love the next pick, Garrett Wilson. When we talk about how quarterback play affects receivers, like Garrett Wilson is still producing at a wide receiver 2 level while catching from Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson. So as soon as he gets, this guy named Aaron Rodgers back, he's gonna be great.
Yeah, so Garrett Wilson was 100% going to be my pick. I had it all locked and loaded. So I'm going to have to pivot here to Chris Olave, who still has quarterback questions, as he has consistently throughout his career. I think he is a bona fide deep threat. He's a bona fide star at wide receiver in the league. And I think, once again, he is going to end up being a top 10 finish in air yards or intended air yards at the wide receiver position. And that is a incredibly spicy Tank Dell pick by Buster Jacoby over here. And frankly, I think that he might be getting caught up a little bit in the hype. Not a little bit. I think he's getting a lot caught up in the hype.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Tank Dell has been lighting it up. He is a rookie, so you expect that his connection with CJ Stroud is only going to get better and better. But I mean, Eric and I are both still on we made a bet about it. We're still on the Nico Collins over Tank Dell argument. So taking Tank Dell this early with Nico Collins kind of, in my mind, being the better wide receiver to grab, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it is spicy. It is definitely spicy. I wonder if that was just to snipe Fantasy King on a round 3 Tank Dell to link up with CJ Stroud and get that stack. But nevertheless, we had Chris Olave with Evan. We had Jonathan Taylor go next, and then Tank Dell, leaving Eric at this 3rd round reversal 3-1 pick.
So I don't know if y'all are aware, but the current QB3 this season is still on the board, and he's going to be in line for a pretty big contract coming up here. And I really like solidifying this in my QB room and grabbing Dak Prescott at the beginning of the 3rd round.
Yep. Love that.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That gives you, I mean, your QB2 is such a good base. He might just end up being your QB1.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And then that way I also Dak tends to not be super injured other than that one season. So that also gives me a nice floor with having a healthy quarterback as well.
Cool. Well,
it's
a 1 point tight end premium.
Oh,
I'm going to go ahead and take the Dynasty tight end 1 off the board.
No, don't. Oh, you are mean.
So,
You're a mean man.
Rookie tight ends aren't supposed to do what they're doing. I don't know if you remember the bold take battle. I said there were going to be 2 rookie tight ends in the top 12. It looks like there might finish with like 2 in the top 8 or 9. So there's an argument for Laporta versus Kincaid versus Hawkinson. I love all of them, but I'm just going to lock in Laporta given where
you're a real piece of work, man. I thought we were friends.
We were until this pick.
Yeah. Okay. I see how it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we got the mad scientist back on the board. Hope he wasn't looking for some Sam Laporta, because Mike went ahead and grabbed him some Jahmyr Gibbs. Goes right after that. I think that's a pretty good value, considering. I like how these Lions are just flying, though, man. What a time to be a Lions fan. But yeah, I mean, Aaron coming in with T-Law, CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs. Nice. That is a nice little start there for sure. We got Dirty Sanchez back on the clock. He had to just join so that I would say that a whole bunch, right? Yep. Well, I'm going to have to start kind of looking here on my picks. I'm kind of building win now-ish. Ooh, okay. Some shotgun blasts here. We got Oh, okay. So Dirty Sanchez locks in Jared Goff. So he gets his second QB. Then we get Travis Kelce in the middle of the third. I guess,
He doesn't retire.
As long as he's still doing the thing, I guess. But you got to be a little concerned with the age, right?
It's an auto pick. Welcome to sleeper rankings right now. You know, you gotta just kind of laugh it off a little bit and just kind of say, it is what it is.
Kind of just, count yourself lucky that there's one player now that's bumped up that didn't get taken that maybe you could take.
Yep.
Big Bear Saurus back on the clock, not online. Looks like there he goes.
Just sneaky.
Very sneaky. Oh my goodness. I think that's a great start. Lamar Jackson, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill. That is a nasty wide receiver core. That's league winning potential every week with 3 of your players.
Is Hill and Brown the wide receiver 1 and 2 this year so far?
It is
no
Brown at 5.
Yeah, Brown is 5.
Hill at 1.
But let's also talk about the fact that Hill has already been talking about retirement.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a risk reward type of play.
Okay,
Corey, if I told you that you were going to get 2 seasons out of Tyreek Hill, would you take him this high?
Yes.
2 seasons. I might be a little shaky, but I probably still would. But I thought he said he was playing 3 more, and he's already been out talking about playing 3 more seasons.
Thought he said okay, but sure. I thought he said 3 before the season started. But
can we break down this next pick real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, Kenny Pickett.
This was not an auto pick. This was Wally Preston. I love you.
Corey, pause the draft.
I can't. Mike's controlling it. Mike has to pause it. But Mike, as the Steelers fan, I kind of want to hear your take first on this Kenny Pickett pick.
You heard me ask for them to trade for Justin Fields a second ago, or Kyler Murray, or anybody. Look, if Kenny Pickett is continuing on the trajectory that he has post Matt Canada, this might be a steal for a very mid-level quarterback too that you just get to plug in for the next 10 years. I do not think that Kenny Pickett is going to be that over the next 10 years. So I think that this is a silly pick, but this is what happens when you skip quarterback in your first 2 rounds. You got to come back and grab it.
Yeah, I think that in that position, I mean, Justin Jefferson, Breece Hall, you lock in those 2 skill position spots. I like that start. But when you start that way, I see it as you are going to wait for QB until 6th round and just kind of grab a guy that can put up points for you, because everything else that you're building, you're building skill positions with your first 2 picks and from then on until you can just get some quarterbacks to fill in the spot. But it's definitely a bold pick. I want to just quickly say that it wasn't a quarterback, but Preston did call from a mile Puka Nacua. So I do trust Preston's instincts on things. But yeah, I think that it's a little bit of an off pick, personally speaking. I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Dynasty tight end 1 and take TJ Hawkinson.
So we've had all 3 Dynasty tight end 1s. Nope, 3 of the 4 Dynasty tight end 1s go off the board in this round.
Yeah, no, I'm on Corey's team here. I think TJ Hawkinson is the pretty clear tight end 1, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sam Laporta is my 2. Maybe Mark Andrews can fight for that a little bit, but I'm getting a little concerned with the injury history. But TJ Hawkinson is the tight end 1 right now. And I think that going forward, he's going to be continually used as that stopgap, as that funnel for whoever is passing the ball, because he's awesome. So yeah, tight end premium. Give me some TJ Hawkinson. We got Evan on the board here. Deshaun Watson went after my TJ Hawkinson to Fantasy King, but Evan's on the board.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the stack. I think Mike's going to give me flack for this, but I'll take Diggs. Frankly, I'm not the biggest Waddle fan. T. Higgins is probably going to be in a new lineup next year. I considered taking Smitty, who just went directly after my pick. So that's really unfortunate. I was really hoping that I could get him on the turn coming back. But it looks like that's not going to be the case here.
Ooh. So, wow.
Yeah, I'm
Jacoby is going wild. I know it's a mock, so shoot your shot, but let's talk about you picked Diggs then Smitty went, and then Buster Jacoby with the back-to-back Dalton Kincaid, Rashee Rice. Whew. I mean, Chiefs have been looking for that wide receiver one since Tyreek Hill left. Rashee Rice, his snaps have increased, his routes have increased game to game. He has flashed for sure. It's risky. That is a gamble, but if it pays off, I mean, getting that stack with Patrick Mahomes, I guess that's attractive too. It's interesting. It's very interesting. I don't think I could do it.
It's calling your shot, and I love it, but I think that's not how you get value. But
that's a BBM.
Yep.
Big balls move.
Rashee Rice. Thank you, Craig.
Rashee Rice.
Oh man.
Oh, do you want to? That's
Yep.
Oh, I like that when we put in the
nice.
little
it covers our guest.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
I love that. Hey, Eric. Bye, Eric. Okay. Okay. After the Rashee Rice, we had a Travis Etienne pick. I think Etienne's like the running back 3 on the season, so I respect it. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jalen Waddle. I respect the ETN pick. I'm just gonna continue to punt running backs down the board and play the figure it out at some point game. Wide receiver is starting to have a little tear break. I have been told many of times and said many of times that I'm not the biggest Waddle fan, but I do understand that Tua is still the quarterback there for the time being. He looks like he is going to be the future of that team. Tyreek is still there to be able to take number 1 coverage. He's still probably going to get the most amount of targets, but Waddle could go off on any single game. And with the consistency of Diggs, I'm going real boom bust with Olave and Waddle as the other wide receivers.
Okay, and then I get absolutely massacred because Waddle and Achane were my next 2 picks, and they get picked back to back. Achane is awesome, and he's quickly rising up my rankings for running back, so I'm going to have to pivot here a little bit. I'm looking at quarterbacks, not really loving it, so I do have a wide receiver in mind here that I'm going to go ahead and lock in, and I know, you guys can give me all the flack you want for being a Seahawks fan. Taking 2 49ers does hurt, but Brandon Ayuk has also been incredible. And I guess as long as the 49ers are being awesome, I will love them for fantasy football.
I love it, and I hate you. He was in my queue, and I was actually like, I can wait because there's no one else is going to scroll all the way down. But I think Ayuk has an argument to be closer to a tier 2 wide receiver than people admit. Like, he's 25 years old. He has stability in the organization. 5 years is a lifetime in Dynasty.
I like him over Waddle. I like him over Rice. I like him over Smitty.
Quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Preston made a great pick here. He picked T. Higgins. I think I'm going to end up with a lot of quote, injury-prone T. Higgins this year because he either stays in Cincinnati and gets to hang out with Joe Burrow, or he goes somewhere else where he's the number 1 option. Either way, I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, still incredibly talented, still young enough to make a difference wherever he is. You just hope that, seasons going forward, he stays healthy. But if he does, we were all talking about T. Higgins as that, oh my God, the Bengals are going to have 2 wide receiver 1s for fantasy football on their team. And then, injuries happen. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins himself, he's still incredibly awesome and talented and young. So Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins duo, that's a pretty nice little wide receiver room for sure. We got Big Bear Soros coming on the board next, taking the tight end 1 in Dynasty, Mark Andrews.
We love the tight end 1.
We love the tight end 1 in Dynasty. Spunky 3300 takes DK Metcalf at the 4-8. Been a down year for the Seahawks as a whole, but DK Metcalf, I think, has been letting people down. So a little bit of a risky pick, I guess, but you just hope that he can kind of return to form next year. I got to admit, though, Seahawks fan here, Geno Smith has not looked like it this year. He has looked back to, pre-last year Geno Smith days. So we'll see what happens. But I kind of always suspected that the next 2-3 years of having Geno Smith was going to be, a fun and frisky, but not really serious Seahawks team. So I still like DK. I still think he's super talented, but we'll see if he can correct his performance going into next season.
So Corey, can we just back up real quick? Being that it's your pick and you're on this stream here, Are you not concerned at all about Debo being there and Christian McCaffrey being there and Kittle being there and the fact that Brock Purdy's really only throwing the ball right around 30 times a game, and that's 30 attempts a game?
No, I'm not concerned about it because Ayuk has, in my opinion, been the clear alpha dog in the wide receiving game for them. I think Debo has his fair share of injury history at this point that makes me think that, while he's out there, sure, he can pop off, but I don't think he's going to be like a 17 game guy, 16, 15, maybe not even a 14 game guy. And George Kittle's getting older. Even with all these weapons though, this year, I mean, what is Ayuk? I think he's already like a wide receiver one with all of these pieces in place. So I'm not super concerned. I think Ayuk is the stable wide receiver one, highest fantasy asset on the 49ers besides Christian McCaffrey. But I appreciate the question. So we had DK Metcalf with Spunky 3,300. We had Dirty Sanchez taking Saquon Barkley as their RB1. Aaron St. Dennis locks in Calvin Ridley, which is interesting. He's kind of had an up and down year. But that takes us to the back-to-back brothers here with Mike and Eric. Mike, you are first. What do you got, bud?
Yep. So DJ Moore in games with Justin Fields is on pace for 1,800 yards this season. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick the wide receiver 8. That's 25, 26 years old.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but you just said with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I think we already established he's not going to have Justin Fields next year.
That's the worst case scenario is Justin Fields.
So that's what I was going to say. This is actually
that's hyper focus. Come on.
I don't know. I see this more. I think I'm thinking the way that Mike is thinking, where if Fields stays, you've already seen what he can do with DJ Moore. It's a little bit off and on, but when he's on, he's freaking on. If Justin Fields leaves, they're getting Drake May or Caleb Williams, and that might be a pretty big upgrade in the passing game anyway. Like the only bad scenario here is if the Bears take Marvin Harrison and he becomes the clear wide receiver one over DJ Moore, which I don't even know if that would happen. I know Marvin Harrison is awesome, but a rookie coming in and stealing the wide receiver one job from DJ Moore, that caliber of player.
Yeah. I also think their play styles are different. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a strangely adept route runner for what he does. And DJ Moore is I catch the ball, I throw you into the stands, I move on with my life. But Eric, you're on the clock.
I love that pick, Mike. The way that this draft is going for me, I am very young. So I feel like I'm going to lean on the young longevity side. So first, I'm going to take the wide receiver 15, Jordan Addison, who I think has shown can be a high-end wide receiver 2 behind Justin Jefferson and get points when he's not there, or he can actually catch some balls when JJ's out. And then I'm also going to go Puka, who's our current wide receiver 10. And I've loved everything I've seen about him. I cannot believe how well he's doing. Shout out to Wally Clarks for shooting that shot earlier, but he has been fantastic this year, wide receiver 10 and young. And I mean, who knows how much longer Cooper Kupp's going to be there. So I see really good upside with him.
Eric, I want to give you some sugar and I want to give you the stick. I think that the Puka pick was awesome. I really love that pick. I think the Jordan Addison pick was kind of booty. You don't know going into next season what the quarterback situation is going to be on the Vikings. And I think Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson are the guys there that you can feel safe about. But are you telling me if they're going into the next year, starting Jared Hall, you're going to feel good about Jordan Addison? He hasn't looked awesome since Kirk Cousins has left.
No, and I think a lot of that is Josh Dobbs, but I do think whether Kirk Cousins is back or not, that the Vikings will have a better QB situation than Josh Dobbs next year, just personally.
Okay. Fair enough. Mike, your next pick, man.
Hey.
Let's talk about it.
Well, I love Anthony Richardson, and if I love Anthony Richardson, and I think that he's going to develop as a passer in year 2, he has the time to really get ingrained in the game plan. Michael Pittman is nasty, or he can also be a free agent and go somewhere else. So worst case scenario, he's the number 1 somewhere else. Best case scenario, he's the number 1 with Anthony Richardson, which in games with him as a rookie, he was already getting hyper targeted. So,
oh man, this is his contract year.
Yep.
Wow. Am I crazy? It seems like he just came into the league.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does. It really does. Okay.
That makes me pretty sad. I was really excited for Pittman to possibly drop. I obviously thought that there was an outside shot of him making it to me, but man, it's a tough pill to swallow because I am in lockstep with Mike here. I am really appreciative of Pittman.
He's been awesome. Isn't he? He's a wide receiver 1 right now, isn't he? Like a 10, 11, 12 guy right now?
He is the wide receiver 12. So right now I have the wide receiver 8 and 12, and I picked them in the 4th and 5th round, and neither is even sniffing 27.
I like it. Okay, well, Drake London goes right after that to the mad scientist. CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley, Drake London. I think the London and Ridley picks are a little gambly, but they still have some upside for sure. Drake London, you just hope that he can get some sort of QB situation there that is not what it currently is, or maybe just a coaching change would do that. Because here's a question: can we really evaluate very well anything that's going on with the Falcons with Arthur Smith being the one calling the shots there? Any dismay about Desmond Ridder, any dismay about him, any Kyle Pitts dismay is kind of couched with the fact that Arthur Smith is the one coaching the team. So it's I almost feel like these pieces have been in a hyperbolic time chamber where they're just in they're frozen. It's more like cryogenic freezing, where I guess they're getting older technically, but they're not, their value is just flatlined right now. So yeah, we will see what comes of the Falcons, but we get a George Pickens pick right after Drake London, and then Kyren Williams, which I'm honestly, I think this is where he goes. That does make sense. He has been awesome. He is young. He has that backfield by the balls. I mean, what's there to say that's negative about Kyren Williams? I know someone has something. Right?
He's slow. He's not good at football, but he just keeps getting all of the work because Sean McVay has a man crush on him.
Right? Doesn't matter.
It's opportunity. Yeah. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
So as soon as LA brings in someone else or drafts another running back,
I don't think they will, though.
That opportunity is going to get slashed. I think they will.
They're so light on draft capital and cap space and what they want to do with their future. I think they take another day 3 guy.
McVay wants offense. He continuously drafts offensive players.
True.
Okay, why would you draft a running back if you could just bring back Darrell Henderson over and over and over and over again when you need him?
You can just be like, hey, what are you up to? And he's like, hey, I got a shift at Panera Bread later.
He's I've just been kind of waiting in the parking lot. Thanks for calling.
I still know the door code and I still have my playbook. Can I just come in?
Yes, I have my key card.
But Big Bear Source stopped the Bryce Young slide. Preston Wally Clarks went ahead and took Jackson Smith and Jigba right before you.
I know none of us are sold on. I know none of us are sold on Bryce Young, but in a Superflex 2 quarterback league with someone who's guaranteed a starting job for probably next 2 to 3 years, does that feel like a little low for him?
Is it though? Because you could pretty much flex any starting position player in your super flex slot, and you would have done better this year than starting Bryce Young
this year. But we don't think that there's any chance it gets a little bit better.
I don't know who's going to coach the team.
No. And also, it doesn't matter who coaches the team because they don't have a first round pick. So their best case scenario is that they either fix O-line or receiver in the draft. They can't fix both.
They also have a ton of cap space, so they have plenty of money to be able to make moves in the offseason.
Yeah, for sure. With one wide receiver on the market.
I got to get my homer pick in. I got to take my Ken Walker.
Reasonable.
Look, Ken Walker, say what you want about him. Volume, not great, but he's the home run hitter. That is what he does. As my wide receiver 2 underneath Christian McCaffrey, all I have to do is hope that he's healthy, and he can win me a game any week. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Seahawks bias player and take some Ken Walker. Still super young, guys. It's kind of surprising that he's dropped this far. I would rather have Ken Walker than Saquon Barkley.
And then the Dynasty tight end 1 went after that. So Trey McBride.
Oh, Trey McBride, Dynasty tight end 1.
Yeah.
Hey, nice Trey McBride with Kyler is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
This is the thing, Evan. We're not making fun. This is the argument. There are so many.
And then Evan made his pick, and then the Dynasty tight end 1 went off the board.
Yeah.
Oh, Dynasty tight end 1, Kyle Pitts.
The Dynasty tight end 1 of Hopium,
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts.
yeah.
But yes, I continued my wide receiver train and took Zay Flowers, who, in my opinion, is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 in Baltimore. Mark Andrews is aging. Pick. Mark Andrews is continuously the top target getter in that offense when healthy. But I think Zay Flowers is going to continue to develop, and he's already carved out a very clear role in that offense. And he has youth on his side, which is able to allow me to continue to be okay with having taken Diggs in the 3rd round.
Did you say awesome pick? Did you say Mark Andrews is aging?
Well, everybody's aging.
I think he said Mark Andrews is Asian.
Oh, okay. Mark Andrews is 28 and like just turned 28 and is like hitting the prime of tight end years. So just a note.
And he's still going to be a year older because that's what aging means.
Oh my gosh!
But that's okay, Mike.
Zay Flowers is also aging at that point.
Everybody's aging all the time. what can I say?
Aging prospect Braylon Allen.
You heard it here first, folks. People are aging all the time.
Follow us for more fantasy
hot
football
takes, man. Yeah, hot takes here.
When you want hot takes, come to the RPG podcast.
So this is probably going to be a reach to most, but he's connected to the best rookie quarterback from this draft, and I think that he is better than Tank Dell.
Josh Downs.
And to get him this many rounds later, I will gladly take Nico Collins.
I hate you.
Did you know that Nico Collins is aging, though? So let's keep that in mind.
You got to be careful of those aging wide receivers.
He's turning 24.
It's almost as much of a pitfall as those aging tight ends and quarterbacks. We can't forget about those aging running backs.
Oh, man. Are these aging fantasy football analysts? Like, God.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Oh, speaking of Josh Downs.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, this is getting to the point in the draft where you do have, like, I hate to say it because we're laughing about it so much, but you do have all these aging players that are like sitting at the top of the draft here. And given my structure, like it makes me want to kind of pull the trigger on one of these guys that, okay, they are aging, but they are still to this day producing. You got guys like Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. All that being said, I think my team is getting a little too RB focused here. So I do kind of want to course correct a bit and try to take some other kind of position. You know what? And I think I'm just going to full lean into it here. And I'm going to take, I might need a pause. Because I can't find him. Okay, unpause. Boom. Get my 49ers stacked up with some
You
Brock
were talking
Purdy
about aging.
too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Brock Purdy is aging. So
yeah, I mean he is technically. I honestly didn't want to pull the trigger on that. Like I didn't want to pull the trigger on that because I know he is aging. But when I look at all the guys that I was talking about at the top of the draft here, I honestly like they're really getting to that age mark of like, will this be the season that they start taking a tumble? Like Austin Eckler, is he even going to be a Charger? Derrick Henry is he even going to be a Titan? Are either of them going to have teams? Cooper Kupp, injuries forever. Nick Chubb had his knee destroyed. Josh Jacobs, I was like kind of looking at, but I started with two kind of fairly highly drafted RBs, so I didn't want to like take Josh Jacobs as well. I think I'm sitting pretty with QB2 Brock Purdy. He has had QB1 weeks. I think he is stable, and I think he is hanging on to that job at least until his rookie contract is over, because the 49ers love paying him under $1 million every year.
Yes, they do.
And Wally Clark's taken the resurgent Russell Wilson here.
Yeah.
He has looked significantly better in recent weeks. He's looked significantly better since they started their win streak, and he is a very viable QB2 in my opinion.
Much to my chagrin, I will take my lumps there. It looked great for me saying that I thought the Broncos were going to be stinky and Russell Wilson was done for the first 6 games. And then I don't know what happened. They figured it out, I guess. But okay, yeah. So we have some Russell Wilson getting taken there in the middle of the 6th. Debo Samuel going next to Big Bear Saurus. Terry McLaurin, who I was considering, but I think he's going to be 29 next season. He got old real quick. He entered the league pretty old. So, I mean, he is aging, so I couldn't take him. Dirty Sanchez is next on the board here. We'll see what he selects. But yeah, I mean, I definitely need some wide receiver help personally. I'm looking at Evan over here with his treasure trove of wide receivers and hating that he took both Zay Flowers and Nico Collins from me. Not appreciating that very much, but we got Dirty Sanchez on the board here with some Tony Pollard and Aaron St. Dennis back on the board. We got Mike and Eric coming up after that. I think we could probably do one more round, guys.
Oh yeah, very easily.
One more round, and then I think we're going to call it because it is, we got a 5-minute countdown here. So we'll see if Aaron locks something in. But this is, I'm getting hot for a draft. I want to do a startup. Can we do a mid-season startup real quick? Like a real one? I got that itch. Yeah, I just want to draft some players, guys. You got any more than players?
Can we also take this as a moment to remind everybody to be responsible about adding too many teams in the offseason?
Correct.
Please be responsible with your fantasy football portfolio. Please do not add 15, 20% of your teams in the first 2 weeks of the offseason because you will get that itch again, especially if you're drafting that many teams.
Yeah, and legally we have to say that is not financial advice, but but I think it is prudent and it is smart. I know personally, like I'm looking at some leagues that I've been in since we started the RPG like universe, I've been looking at leagues that I'm like, okay, I've been in this for almost 5 years now, and like, okay, like maybe I find someone to take this thing over at some point because I do want to that's the thing. I want to make more leagues to like fill out more RPG universe stuff, but like I can't be in 40 leagues. I can't do it. So I have to figure that out eventually. But after the Tony Pollard pick, we did get an Aaron St. Dennis Cooper Cup selection. And that brings us to Mike and Eric. Mike, you just made a pick. You want to talk about it? That's a stinky ass pick, bud.
Yep, thank you. So if DeAndre Swift is still the running back on the Eagles next year, this is a slam dunk.
Yeah.
However, I have no idea where he's playing football. I'm going to bet purely on the talent that is DeAndre Swift and say that he will be good wherever. But, man, it's hard to bet on free agent running backs. So I'm just hoping that he goes somewhere cheap and good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I agree with you to a certain extent. I like his talent, but he wasn't good anywhere. He wasn't good on the Lions.
He was good. He just didn't play a lot. He was good for fantasy. He showed explosion. Like, he passes the eye test when he holds the football.
Yeah.
I don't know why coaches don't like him.
I think it's tough. I think he's Evan can probably speak more to this than I can, but I think there's just such a low chance that he is an Eagle next year. Yeah. And at that point, like the chances of him becoming like a RB2 third down back kind of situation, that just kind of ekes me out.
Yeah, unless you went somewhere like Miami or
no, he's not fast enough
excuse
to get
me?
Miami.
Kansas
Not fast enough.
He's not fast there. What does he run? He runs like a 4.38 or something?
You got to run a 4.23 to be in Miami.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eric's on the clock.
You got to be hitting 22 miles an hour. Come on, that's a minimum.
I'm going to take a little bit of a risk on this one.
Ooh, risky biscuit.
I'm going to go White. Just for the hope that he kind of repeats what he's done this season as my RB1. Like, I don't hate that. He's got a job, Jacobs, but I also don't know where Jacobs is going to be next year, and I don't know if he's good somewhere else. So it's a little weird to me.
It's a little weird to me that you didn't take Isaiah Pacheco, who's the clearly superior back, but I like your pick too.
That's true. He is the clearly superior back. That is true.
Yeah.
And I'm actually thinking about him at this next pick. But
don't you dare.
But I think I need to lock down my tight end. And when this guy has been healthy this year, he's had 3 top 6 tight end weeks.
Are you picking a dynasty tight end 1?
So we're going to go with
dynasty tight end 1, Pat Freiermuth.
Gosh.
Wow. Incredible.
So, feeling good about his prospects for next year. And I actually don't hate that as my tight end 1.
Yeah, coming off of a 9 reception, 100-yard game.
Mm-hmm. He's had 3
Yeah.
top 6 tight end weeks this year, and
Oh my
he was
God.
injured for a bunch of it. So,
and think about how good Fields has made Cole Kmet. Think about how good Fields is going to make Pat Freiermuth.
Five brain.
That's 5 brain stuff. Okay, we got to get through this next round. So, Mike, you were on the clock.
All right. So I'm looking at 2 things here. I'm just going to go ahead and pick a wide receiver that he's either going to play in Pittsburgh and hopefully they get better, or he's going to play anywhere else and he's an elite separator that doesn't hopefully make the coaching staff mad at him early. Taking locker room headaches in a row. Give me Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, that. Oh my God, that fumble. It makes me cringe, and I didn't even do it.
Yeah,
but it feels like something that I did that I'm cringing about in my past. Yeah. But I didn't even do that.
I would love to be a fly on the wall for film on Monday.
Oh my God, do you think they are just like?
Oh, Minkah Fitzpatrick has already like pushed him against lockers and like yelled at him. It's amazing.
Like drawn and quartered, right?
Yeah, that's
you guys know what that is, right? By the way,
not the vibe. Oh yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Anyway.
Weird silence. Hey, you guys know what drawn and quartered is?
Yeah, you guys know what drawn and quartered means? Aaron St. Dennis back on the board here with his last pick of the night. I think he's gonna auto it. Let's see what it is. Maybe he set a cue, maybe he didn't. 2, 1, time's up. George Kittle.
Dynasty tight end 1.
Dynasty tight end 1, George Kittle.
No.
What a pick.
I think there's actually a big tier between like Laporta, Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, McBride, Kincaid. Like all of those guys have an argument. Even Pitts, if you're a Hopium guy.
I like that you included McBride in that. I do.
His usage is elite. Like,
but you did not include Dallas Goedert, who goes next.
Correct.
Interesting.
Okay. I want my tight ends to be the number 1 or 2 option on their offense, and Dallas Goedert will quite comfortably not be that for the foreseeable future, and it's a shame.
I hear it. I hear that. Okay. Well, we got Spunky doing an auto pick. That gives me some time to I really need some wide receiver help, so I'm going to try to kind of go down the list here a little bit. But in the meantime, I mean, who's feeling really good about their draft so far?
Oh, I'm winning this draft already. It's the 4
You are not. You don't have a running back on your team.
I have DeAndre
You
Swift.
and Evan both. He's not going to be on.
Who needs running backs?
I'm going to just get Raheem Mostert in the 900th round.
Well, you need a running back to put in those 2 running back slots that are on your roster.
I'm just going to go ahead and grab Zach Moss, Raheem Mostert.
Oh, we actually did not cover that news of Jonathan
Taylor.
Oh,
yeah, Jonathan Taylor, thumb surgery. You're getting this in the 58th minute. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Zach Moss, RB1 the rest of the way. He is going to be a league winner.
In case you get your news from us 3 hours too late.
Kind of weird, but I'm into it. Hollywood Brown goes. That's actually a pretty good pick. He was on my list here.
Who else are you looking at right now?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, that's not a good podcast.
Nah, you're right. I'm looking at like some Jahan Dotson. I'm looking at. Do you say ew?
Yeah. The wide receiver 3.
Curtis Samuel isn't going to be there. Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin are like 40 years old. What are we talking about? Jahan Dotson is the future.
Sure. You know what? Yes.
Hey, I'll give you another one that you're probably going to not like either because of how you responded to that. I'm looking at Jaden Reed.
No, I actually like that.
He's looked awesome.
Yeah, no, he's closer to being useful for fantasy. So,
excuse me, sir. That's quite rude. I'm not going to comment further than that.
I love you, Jahan Dotson. Go Penn State.
Yeah, I mean,
and his giant hands.
I like. I mean, I like Dotson more than Jerry Jeudy.
Burks, those 5XL gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like Jerry Jeudy over Dotson, Treylon Burks over Dotson, Quentin Johnston. Ugh,
yeah.
Gross. I really had to overreact for that one. I mean, Gabe Davis, I guess you could make an argument, but he's just so up and down. Like, I'll tell you what, I am gonna go Reed.
Yeah,
that is who I'm gonna lock in here. I think honestly, like Reed is really good. Like I've seen some they're using him all kinds of ways. He's a weapon on that offense. Ooh, okay.
I cannot believe we let Will Levis fall this far.
Right after the Reed
thinking
pick,
about
we
him.
get some Will Levis. I was kind of considering it, but my quarterbacks are locked in for the time being.
Yep.
Will Levis.
He was, I
Pretty
mean,
good
I
pick.
think he's going to be the quarterback going into next year for the Titans.
Yeah.
It seems like that is going to be the case. They're going to be out of the quarterback drafting situation. They're not going to have a pick to be able to do that. If they do, it's going to be another developmental guy. And how many years can they really spend taking a quarterback? But he was lined up as the quarterback that I was going to take because I was looking at a QB2. And instead, I will pivot to cannon arm Sam Howell.
So this pick boils down to two things. If you think Sam Howell is the starter in 2024 and beyond, this is a slam dunk, amazing pick. Evan wins this draft by a mile. If you think that the Commanders are going to draft somebody or that Sam Howell stinks, then this is a terrible pick and a wasted pick, a la Trey Lance a couple years ago.
Yeah, I don't think they can. Like, they're winning enough. They're not going to have unless they trade for it, they're not going to have a high enough pick themselves.
What pick are they at right now?
Well, okay, so here's the thing: is basically everybody 4 down is locked out. Everybody in the 1, 2, 3. So Carolina, Arizona, and New England all have 1 or 2 wins. Everybody else has 4 wins past it, which basically at this point in the season is telling you that those are going to be the top 3 teams somehow, some way. Obviously, Carolina's pick went to
Chicago.
the Bears. So there's all of that going on. You can make the argument that new ownership comes in, they're going to say, hey, we're going to trade the future to be able to go up there and take a quarterback. At the very least, they have enough film to be able to make a proper analysis on Sam Howell to see if he is their future. He's thrown an insane amount of passes. He looks like he has arm fatigue right now. You watch any of those games, he just doesn't have the same zip on the ball. He doesn't have the same placement on the ball as he did 5 weeks ago.
Yep. I would take the quarterback 4 or 5 in this current draft class over Sam Howell quite comfortably.
Interesting.
So JJ McCarthy over Sam Howell?
I'd consider it.
I can't.
Bo Nix.
I can't do it.
I would take Bo Nix,
Penix,
or Jaden Daniels in a heartbeat.
Yes.
I agree with.
I would agree with that, Mike.
That's the quarterback 4 or 5 range.
Yeah. JJ McCarthy is where it cuts off for me. I would rather have Sam Howell. But
are we still picking?
I think
I think
close out the show, but still do the draft for the people at home.
Okay, sounds good.
Sure,
well, I'm going to continue to take Tay Adams here.
All right. Well, anyway, it's Christmas. Christmas is coming up, and I want to talk to you guys about.
Oh God, what do you?
Debbie.
Oh jeez, you scared me, Mike. You tilted the camera down. I'm like, oh my God, what?
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Put your pants on.
Anyway, I did wear pants for this live stream, but I haven't for other ones. You're welcome, people.
I've never worn pants.
If you're giving a gift, use code FFRPG at checkout. A little bit comes back to us so that we can buy Eric fantasy football coaches and so that we can improve the show for you at home. But go buy you some Dubby and win you some Dubby championships.
Quentin Johnston, locking it in.
And that feels like a good enough time to stop.
Why are we
all right. I love you guys. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. And see you next time.
Have a good night, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.